Guys, welcome to the podcast. Today is going to be a fun episode with Andy Knowlton of Rimrock Outfitters. And Andy is an avid houndsman and he likes to coos deer hunt. He drew an elk tag in Arizona last year, shot a really nice bull. He's got another elk tag this year in Arizona. He has a degree from the University of Arizona in Natural Resources Wildlife Range Management, and he sheds some light on some topics here that I think you guys will be interested in. I want to thank him for his time. Also want to remind you guys that the sponsors of this podcast make this podcast possible, and I want to thank them for their sponsorship and thank you guys for supporting them. I hear from those sponsors of the support that you give them. GoHunt.com Insider is the title sponsor of this podcast, and you can go on GoHunt.com and check out the Go Hunt Gear Shop. And if you sign up to be a Go Hunt Insider member, you get a $50 Go Hunt store credit automatically credited to your account. And if you go on there, you can go check out all the great gear that you can order. Of course, you get free shipping, and you get all the benefits of being an insider member with the incredible Western hunting resource that it is, and researching these states and these units and draws and harvest statistics and what have you. Make sure to use the J Scott promo code. You're going to get a $50 Go Hunt Gear Shop credit. I also want to thank KUIU Ultralight Hunting and remind you that the KUIU mobile showroom is right now on the KUIU World Tour, and they're just finishing up in Denver, Colorado, and they're going to be July 27th through the 29th in Colorado Springs. Then they're going to go to Omaha, Nebraska, August 3rd through the 5th. Kansas City, Missouri, Oklahoma City, Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas, Lubbock, Texas, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Grand Junction, Colorado, Salt Lake City, Cedar City, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Arizona on October 19th through the 21st, San Diego, California, Los Angeles, California, and they're going to finish the tour in Reno, Nevada on November 9th through the 11th. I want to thank Jason Hairston and his crew over at KUIU for their support of this podcast. Make sure to get out and check out the KUIU mobile showroom. Every piece of gear that KUIU makes in every size is on the truck. So in other words, you can go and try on any piece of gear that they've got, no matter what your size, and you can find out what size you are. You can touch and feel and grab and try on the boots, try on the packs. So the mobile showroom has just been a huge hit. I also want to thank the Outdoorsmans, Cody Nelson and his group. They're in Arizona. They're the Optics Authority. They've got unbelievable tripods that they've manufactured and tripod heads, backpacks. Like I said, they are the Optics Authority. If you use the J Scott promo code, you're going to get a 10% discount there with the Outdoorsmans. And then Phonescope.com, Cheston Davis and his group, if you use the J Scott 16 promo code, you're going to get a 10% discount on all Phonescope products. And Cheston, they're at Phonescope. What they do is they take any cell phone and they adapt it to any optic, whether binocular or spotting scope, and you can be taking photos and videos immediately. Guys, this is going to be a great episode with Andy Knowlton. I know you're going to enjoy it. We cover some kind of sensitive topics, but I also am able to pick his brain on some stuff regarding lions and being a houndsman. I'm a deer hunter, but I always like to hear from houndsmen because I can always pick up little tips for better coos deer hunting and such. So enjoy the episode. Guys, thanks for listening. You can send me an email if you have any questions at all at jscottoutdoors@gmail.com, or you can send me a direct message on Instagram. You can follow along if you don't already on Instagram at jscottoutdoors. You can also go on my website, jscottoutdoors.com. You can link to this podcast. You can link to my social media channels as well. So, guys, thanks for all of your loyal support. I really appreciate it. And let's get right to this episode. Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today is going to be a fun episode with Andy Knowlton of Rimrock Outfitters. And the last time I had Andy on, I believe it was episode 215 and 216. And now we're on episode 310, I believe. And so we've got some ground to cover here. First and foremost, Andy, how are you?
I'm doing good, Jay. Thank you.
I've been looking forward to having you on. Got a few questions for you. One would be, you live in southern Arizona. How have the monsoons been firing? We are July 21st. It seemed like the monsoons, I'm up here in Colorado, but we're usually a day or two behind Arizona as far as soon as storms hit there, they start hitting here. Seemed like the monsoon started late. Want to say maybe didn't even start till about the 10th of July. Want to get your input on how things have been so far.
You bet. Yeah, we were all kind of sitting around waiting, tapping our fingers, wondering when they were going to get here. Usually they like to say, 4th of July weekend, it's starting to get humid outside and the clouds start building, but it was like the 10th or 11th. I live about an hour south of Tucson. And let's see, today it's building up above the house right here, and if it rains today, that'll be 12 days in a row of good rain. So the guys I've been talking to down here, it might have been late, but it's as strong of a start as we're seeing. So they're lots of grass to feed lots of deer, to feed lots of lions. I'm happy.
Have the storms been fairly widespread in all of the different mountain ranges, and is there any one place that's say gotten more or less than others, or has it been fairly well widespread there?
It's been pretty distributed, evenly. What I've been out in the last 2 weeks, I'd say north of Tucson, south of Tucson, all along the border. Especially just south of the border, your country, you guys hunt down there for deer. It looks like it's been just watching on radar and whatnot. It's been pretty even. Everything's just starting to break from all the dead yellow roots of the grasses from last year's growing season. It's starting to push green up through it all now. In about 10 days, it's been pretty strong.
Good. Now, Andy, you live about an hour south of Tucson, kind of in the Sonoita area. Correct me if I'm wrong. Talk a little bit about maybe some of the listeners that aren't as familiar with Arizona, how we have in southern Arizona what we call, Sky Island mountain chains. You've got the Galeros and the Catalinas and, the Whetstones, the Santa Ritas. Talk a little bit about how that works, and as far as those storms and how they roll across there and how it goes from, low elevation to high elevation and such.
You bet. Yeah, so the Tucson Basin's kind of known for that biodiversity, as they like to call it. You go from the Sonoran Desert right there around Tucson, and you could be up in the subalpine firs on top of Mount Lemmon in an hour's drive. So there's lots of scenic routes, so to say, lots of places that are known for that. People can drive, and that attracts a lot of attention in the wildlife areas to down here. We got bird species that come across the border from Mexico that don't show up anywhere else in the U.S., as everyone knows, as well as our jaguars and everything else. So southern Arizona's got a pretty unique niche that way. The Sky Islands, they call it. It's similar to, I guess, Nevada, so to say, as far as the topography and what it looks like. It's just these big flat valleys, and then they climb up to these. Sometimes we call them desert peaks, but a lot of them have pines and fir trees on the top. So you can be hunting in the saguaros in the morning if you got a whitetail tag, and by that afternoon, if you want to go hunt them in the oaks and the junipers and the pines, you can, if your unit has it, and most of these Sky Islands do, you can climb to those elevations. And so basically the way the weather patterns down here, just the way the low pressure and the high pressure systems rotate out of the Pacific, usually we get a pretty strong influx coming from northern Mexico of moisture this time of year. And if you look it's the maps that show the trends of moisture and vegetation, and actually the Coues deer in general. It's basically southern Arizona, and then these storm patterns usually fall up along the Mogollon Rim, kind of east and north of Phoenix, and then they trickle out in the northwestern deserts, and that's typically where we get the majority of the rain and moisture, in southeastern, eastern, and central Arizona, and that's typically where our big wildlife herds are too.
For sure. And for those listeners that didn't hear you on episode 215 and 216, you're a houndsman. You like chasing lions. You like hunting lots of other things, elk and deer and whatever you can get tags for, but your true love is chasing lions and your dogs, correct?
You bet, you bet. I dabbled in a little of all the big game hunting, but the last 15 years or so, it's pretty much just been hunting lions with hounds down here in the deserts, and it's quite the challenging endeavor, but it allows me to spend a lot of time out there and learning and figuring out what's going on and watching the dogs work. That's where most true houndsmen, if you really corner them, they could care less about what tag they have at the end of the year, or what's filled or what's in the freezer. They count their successful season by how many days they spent out there with their dogs and how many puppies they got trained that winter and whatnot.
What are lions doing this time of year, as far as, are they breeding? Are they having, kittens? Are they, feeding as much as they do in the winter? Like what's the life and times of a lion right now in, third week of July?
Sure. They're no different than any of the other big game species, Jay. They're less active in the days with the heat. They tend to shade up more. I mean, there's always an exception. That's the difficulty we run into with these conversations. There's always someone that's got an example of such and such not being true. But for the majority, they're like deer. You're not going to see them walking around in the heat of the day like you might midwinter or so. They're as far as their breeding and life cycles that way. All the studies show, as far as this part of the country, there may be a little bit of they call it a birth pulse this time of year, whereas, just when the females came in cycle, it's not a lion, and most predators breeding isn't as sharp as a deer or elk, so to say, where the rut kicks in, because so much of it's dependent on, if a female's raising kittens and something happens to those kittens, usually she'll cycle again. And so they have documented new litters of lion kittens year round. There's no, so to say, breeding season. So we've got them on trail cameras year round with little spotted kittens following them around. Guys like to say they kill more this time of year because they won't eat spoiled meat, but that's not true at all. We've seen them eat some pretty green meat. If they're hungry and they got to kill, they're gonna feed on it till they're full or satisfied. And usually, what I'm finding this time of year, it's the competition for the kills that I think would tend to make them move on to another one. I trailed into a kill 2 weeks ago, and the lion had just killed the deer the night before on a spring, and the dogs took out of there 100 miles an hour, and I was already checking that one out on the old belt, saying it's already caught. They went out of there so fast, but I got to the tree and they had a bear caught, and I mean, my dogs are pretty terrible, but they're not that bad, especially off a fresh lion kill. And I think just this time of year when our bears are active, those bears' noses are incredible, and they sniff out those kills from the lions quick and get on them fast. So that lion, I'm assuming, ate probably half the deer, and it had it cached and all covered up. I'm most likely to come back and feed on it, but that night sometime early that morning, that bear found it. I ran it off there. It got too hot. Came back that afternoon. I put some trail cameras on it. Bear had already been back to it, and that night I had 3 different bears on that deer kill, and the lion came back, and all 3 of the bears fed on it, and the mountain lion just walked up and sniffed it and walked off and never came back. So
Did the lion come up when the bears were on it, or did he or she wait till they left?
I mean, on as far as what the camera shows, it was a young Tom. He waited for them to leave. He was like half hour behind him, I think. Meaning, my guess would be he was sitting up on a hill watching, waiting for the kill site to be safe or clear. And there was still plenty of meat left on the deer when that second bear left, and that lion just chose not to feed on it for a number of reasons, I'm sure. We're finding they're pretty particular about their kill sites. We went on a calf kill. A rancher called us about a month or two ago, and the lion had killed about a week-old beef calf right in a corral. And the cowboys found it fast, and we were there that afternoon, and lion had only ate through the rib cage like they typically do, and ate the vital organs. And we put cameras on it, and that lion was back at dusk. 2 hours after we left, hanging cameras. We were going to be there in the morning when it cooled off, and that mama cow stayed there all night, just bawling at that calf. And that lion walked up to it with her right there, and never fed on it, and never came back. And we checked it every day for 3 days. And so, for whatever reason, that kill site was more exposed, or the activity of the cattle being around. We're not quite sure what it is. And then some lions, I think, just are a little more finicky than others.
Do you think it's the fact that, I mean, they kill it, okay, I've conquered that, I'm moving on? I mean, do you think some lions just, yeah, they kill to eat, but a lot of them kill for sport, do they not?
Sure, and I don't know if I'd say a lot of them, but there's plenty of examples. And it seems like more times than not, it's a female with young that'll, you hear stories of them moving in on a herd of sheep or killing 2 or 3 javelina. I hate to think they just kill for fun. I'm sure they do. They're similar to house cats and bobcats, which we know are pretty.
Yeah, I mean, if a mouse runs across the floor, they're going to go run over and play with it and eventually kill it.
Their prey drive kicks in, and we've seen lots of examples of that. But on the other hand, those animals put themselves at risk making these kills. They run the chance of getting injured. Granted, they're professionals at it. They're very, very, well calculated on how they do it and their approach and everything. And so I don't see them taking the risk to make a kill without the plans of feeding on it, at least a little bit. Now, that's kind of our interpretation of it. I'm sure the lions got something different going on in their heads, but yes, it's known they do, so to say, kill for fun, or I just think it's they can't help themselves.
Yeah. There's several questions I want to dive into here. My general premise is, being a Coues deer hunter and having a lot of listeners that like Coues deer and, want to learn as much as they can. One question I would ask you is, when it pertains to Coues deer and lion kills that you found, so lion has killed a deer, is there any particular characteristics or any particular, places, topography, near something, away from something, certain side of a slope, certain side of a canyon? Can you pin down, the amount of kills that you've seen, and can you generalize, or can you, even get specific and say, I find a lot of kills XYZ here, and here, and this is why I think they kill them there?
Besides just the obvious reasons, I think they like hunting in cover. They like having that cover to use, just like any of us. Bow hunting, got to have a little bit of topography to break it up. But we've found kills out in the creosote flats too, where you think the deer or cattle could see them coming a mile away. But typically, when we find them, they're in the bottoms or in brush. But that's not to say they killed them there. We've seen them drag where they kill a deer or a elk calf or a beef calf and drag them quarter miles to stash them. For whatever reason, that lion needs to get his kill to a spot he feels safe to feed on it. And typically they drag them downhill. I mean, they'll dang sure carry them over a ridge if they know a spot on the other side to bury it. And usually they stash them in the bottoms under brush, or if there's a thick cedar tree nearby, they'll drag it right to the center of the cedar tree, and mostly to keep it out of sight from other predators or they feel safe when they're feeding on it. But like I said, we found them on tops of little peaks. We've down in the bottoms, in the middle of a sand wash where, you wonder why they left it there. They could have drug it 50 yards up into the mesquites, and they just cover it with sand in the bottom. So that's a very interesting one, that what cues them into moving their kills. Because when we find them, I almost always tie them up with a hay string or whatever I got, some baling wire. That way, when we set the camera on it, because I like watching them and just, seeing what they're doing at the kill sites, how often they come back, and let alone, so then we know what kind of track we got in the morning with the dogs. And that very rarely seems to distract them. You can tie a freshly killed deer up with bright blue hay string, and that lion will eat the rest of the deer with it tied to the tree, and they don't pay any attention to it.
So in other words, they're not smelling human and then not coming back. They don't necessarily, you haven't seen a correlation where they care about it. Absolutely not.
You couldn't do that with a coyote, not one time. They're way more weary. We found a kill one time down here in the Santa Ritas, and we had a camera on it, and we found it in the morning, put a camera on it. That afternoon, went and checked the camera, and the lion had been there feeding all day, and we weren't camped a quarter mile from it. I knew that lion could hear us. We were, and went and checked on it that evening, and we're sitting there looking around, and there's the lion laying 80, 90 yards away, and she'd been just watching us. There was, once we kind of started moving a little closer toward it, we were on the way back to camp to get the dogs, but, they were zero concern for us. They don't act that way, really.
Very interesting stuff. Several things I want to. Well, so do they always cover up their kill is one question, and then the next question: if listeners come across a kill, what would be evidence that it's a lion kill? And then even further than that, what would be evidence that it's a lion kill, and how would they know? What signs do they look for to see how fresh it is? Or in other words, how long ago did the lion kill it?
Sure. Boy, that's one that still got me puzzled. They don't always cover it, and there's no correlation between them covering it and them returning to that kill site. We like to think, oh, that lion stashed it, covered it up, spent all this time. He's coming back for sure. We get burned on that one more times than not. And then we'll find a kill. We might guessing we're a day or two behind it, and it's barely any meat left on it, and kind of out in the open, and coyote tracks around it, thinking it's not, and that lion will be there all night that next night. So it's just
so totally unpredictable.
They're totally unpredictable, and we don't know if that is pressure from other animals. If it's very, very often, I think they have kills in other areas. They might be feeding on multiple kills at the same time. I think there's lots that play into it. As far as how you can tell it's a lion kill, they're pretty unique. Once you've seen a couple and notice a few things, there's really nothing else that kills an animal the way lions do. And as far as what the kill sites look like, they're really clean and neat and covered up, and almost like you were to sit there with a rake, where the lions will reach out and pull dirt and rocks and leaves up onto the kill itself. One of the tall tale signs we look for is the way the lion, when they first start feeding on the animal, deer, elk, cow, it doesn't matter. I'm talking big game, because there's a whole another issue there as far as lions don't only kill these large mammals. They eat a lot of small game, and obviously we're not finding cottontail rabbits covered up.
Right.
They're usually fed on in one sitting and move on. But on a larger mammal, javelina, whatever, usually the way the lions start into the body cavity, they grab a mouthful of hair between their front teeth, and not the canine front teeth, the 2 rows of flat teeth in between their canines, and they pull. And when they pull, they're obviously biting, and it clips the hair. They don't pull the hair out of the skin, so to say. I mean, some's going to come out, but it almost looks like you were to take some shears and trim the hair. It looks like the hair has been cut. Nothing else does that. When a coyote or bears make kills, they usually just pull hide off. Lions they're really clean with their kill sites, so we'll get there, and we know it's pretty obvious to us, but if someone's kind of on the fence, you'll see these little piles of what looks like clipped hair at a barber shop almost.
Okay. And what are they doing by doing that? Is that getting it where then they can get into the cavity? I guess I understand what you mean when you're talking about the little clippings, but I don't understand then
Sure.
What
and
do they do?
Yeah, they're just accessing the body cavities, and 9 times out of 10 they always go right behind the shoulder, right where you'd shoot them with a bow or a gun, it seems like, or through the back of the ribs sometimes, but in front of the guts, and they eat a hole. And I'm talking, we've seen like a perfect size hole, like a softball, where the hair's been clipped, the hide's been chewed off, and the ribs have been chewed off. And I don't know if they're reaching in there with their paws, because sometimes it's small holes and they'll eat the vitals, basically the heart, lungs, liver, basically the nutrient-rich organs, which makes sense that's what they go after first. More times than not, after that, they pull the gut bag out and the intestines, and they usually bury that separate from the kill site. Sometimes they'll pull the guts and stomach out, and they're real clean about it and leave it in a pile, and then they'll move the whole kill site away from the guts. I think they're pretty finicky about it, and then they'll start into the big, large muscle areas, and we've seen them eat a whole coos deer, almost in one sitting. As far as a small doe, I'd say, and I'm talking hooves, shin bones, vertebrae, windpipes, basically everything but the skull and antlers and hips and the long bones. But it's all, I guess, depends on how hungry they are that day.
When you find kills, more times than not, are they bucks or are they does?
Oh, here it comes. Here comes the deer hunter. Oh, they're all bucks, Jay. They're only trophy bucks ever. 110 or better.
They're all giants.
Yeah, no, they're. Oh, yes. It just depends. Yes, sometimes
you can't get out of this one. You got to answer it one way or another.
That one the other day was a doe, but the 2 before that were bucks. As far as what we find, I find lion-killed deer racks, but that might just be because the rack's sticking up. It's easier to see than a doe skull under a tree. I was hunting a canyon last summer and found multiple kills, and they were all does. But I had some buddies that whitetail hunted that area that winter, and they didn't hardly see any bucks. So maybe that was just what was available to them in that canyon. There's some theories saying that bucks tend to be more solitudes, and it's easier for the lions to pick them off. I can see that. That might be why we tend to find more buck kills than does, but I can't say it's 1-to-1. I'm not sure, Jay. When they've collared the lions and followed them kill site to kill site, I've never seen any definite data saying it's 90% bucks, or I can't really pin it down. I don't. And like I said, we as hunters and big game hunters tend to talk like that, but the more you follow these lions around, they're just trying to make a living out there. They come across a skunk, they're going to eat it. They come across a javelina, they're going to eat it. If they're hungry, in other words. So I don't think they walk around selecting through deer, looking for a fatter deer or a deer versus a javelina. I think they're very opportunistic. I think that lion was hunting that spring the other day, and if it would have been a javelina that walked in, I think he would have nailed it. It just happened to be a white-tailed doe.
Do you find as many javelina as you do deer? And I would speculate before you even answer that because they're smaller, maybe you don't. But the follow-up question to that is, do you think they kill just as many javelina as they do deer? You just don't find them.
I bet that has a little to do with it, but to me, that's more of a localized situation. If we hunt a mountain range right along the border that is as full of javelina as any place I've been, and most of the lion kills we find down there are javelinas, and there are plenty of whitetail and mule deer around there, but they just I think it's like I said, it's an opportunistic thing. I think it's pretty relative to, we don't obviously find hardly any elk kills down here because they aren't really walking around down here, but up by where Randy lives, up in the Verde Valley, that calf kills as far as calf elk, cow elk, he'll go on a few of those a year, whereas I think it's just relative, Jay, to what's in the area.
Sure, makes sense. It's pretty safe to say that lions could kill a bull elk, but is it, in your experience and partnering with Randy and running around with him so much, I mean, is it fairly uncommon for a bull elk to be killed by a lion?
Down here it is for whatever reason. And it happens. It's one of those there is no always on it. It's pretty rare though. Whereas I got some lion hunting friends in Wyoming and Colorado that regularly in those deep snows they find, Utah even, plenty of cases where these lions are taking full grown bull elk. I think it's definitely way more of the exception than the norm, but and to me all I can relate that to is just the risk. If that lion's going to sit and wait for something to eat, he's gonna jump on the doe or the cow elk before he's got to deal with those antlers of that bull. I think
sure.
I think they do weigh that option.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about from a Coues deer hunting premise. Have you seen areas in these Sky Island mountain chains where you or lion hunters that you know of have, taken, some tom lions, taken some female lions, and or maybe, handful of each or the other, and have you seen with your own eyes that in that particular pocket where that a handful of lions have been killed, have you seen where the deer numbers in a year or two have, really expanded?
No,
or gotten bigger?
This is my opinion, so I hope you know that I'm no expert. I'm just going with what I see, and right. I try to approach all this as subjective as possible, and the trouble comes, Jay, is it's kind of the whole self-fulfilling prophecy thing that we get something in our minds, and then what happens out there, we force ourselves to see that. And I'm guilty of it. I'm not totally innocent of it, but so traditionally in this part of the country, lion hunters, the best hounds, some of the best lion hunters tend to be pretty tight in, if not part of the cattle community. So there's that whole. Whereas I'm kind of an outsider as far as that. I didn't grow up in a ranching family. I just kind of came in from the outside. And then once you get in the lion hunting business, you realize how tightly the two are related. So there's those. I guess prejudices. You'd say that, yeah, when you muck lions out of an area, the deer and elk and deer and elk and cattle are safer and going to do better. But Jay, that's not always the case. I have a friend that lion hunts down here, and he's got a good family friends of his that are ranchers, and they went in there when we first started doing good and catching lions, and he killed 7 or 8 lions out of say 20 square mile kind of mountain range, and did dang good that winter and caught a lot of lions and killed them out of there and ran on some calf kills, and that's kind of what he was figuring and guessing was in there, 7 to 10 lions, something like that, toms and females. And the next year, Jay went back in there and killed just as many. And I happened to be riding with them one day with the ranchers and the cowboys, and and they were giving him praise as they should. He's a great lion hunter, and I'll never forget the cowboy saying, "Man, I'm sure glad he came in here last year and killed those 10 lions, because there'd be 20 in here this year." And that's just that situation always stuck because that is not how it works. If there's 10 lions working, say a mountain range, and you somehow figure out a way to kill all 10, those lions infill and are constantly moving and traveling and finding new territories. And say 6 or 7 fill back in the next year, which is a pretty high influx rate. In Southern Arizona, it can happen just because I think we got lions coming from Mexico. But that doesn't mean if no one would have hunted that, there'd be 17 lions in that mountain range this year. So that,
in other words, they just kind of sustain themselves, but if they get killed, they just come back.
Exactly, and I got to be careful saying that because they don't always come back. Randy and I killed a tom up in central Arizona. Shoot, I bet it's been 4 or 5 years now. There's still not another tom been through there because it's a spot we check regularly. And we killed one with a client down here in May, and 2 weeks ago I went in there and there's already another tom scratching in there. So it's very relative to the area. It's very relative to prey density, hunting pressure, lots of things. So as far as getting back to your question, are there areas that that these lions are pressuring and when you remove them do better? I mean, yes, there are. Is it always the case? No, because we can't, as hunters, as much as especially some of the better lion hunters like to think that, they're really making a difference. Sure, it makes sense. You remove a lion, he's not going to be in there eating the cattle and deer. But that we aren't that good of hunters. Even the best lion hunters aren't that good to where we can keep those lions. Guys like to say, oh, I'm going to go get that area cleaned out for that rancher. Well, that's just old cowboy talk. You can't clean lions out. No one's that good. Those lions are 24/7 moving and working, coming from all different areas, and sure we can make a dent in them. And I just don't think down here. I don't think we could do it. And I'm speaking from 100% personal experience because I go through winters where, I got lion hunters that live 360 degrees around me, and they're all good lion hunters, and they get after it, and they kill 5, 10, 15 lions a piece a winter down here. And then the next winter, we all do the same thing. But that doesn't mean that if we didn't kill those lions, say all of us kill 30 lions, that doesn't mean if we all decide, all right, we're going to take a year off. That way, the following year, there's going to be 60 lions to hunt. That's not the reality. So the prey species are directly related to it. And so I'm gonna say no. There's for sure isolated areas where the deer numbers might be low, and I mostly getting this from guys that have spent their lives hunting these same areas. I've only been down here about 15 years, so I'm just going what I know of, and they do say, man, when such and such lion hunter moved in there and started putting pressure on those lions, we really noticed the deer come back. All right, right on. Well, we caught there were 3 different toms in a tiny mountain range down here by Tombstone this spring that were killing calves, and we caught 2 of them, and another lion hunter caught another one, and a week later, those guys saw another tom track in there, and it's a slippery slope, Jay, because in some ways it almost shoots yourself in the foot, because if you leave that lion in that area, say from the rancher's perspective, if you know there's a mature tom lion in there and he's not killing calves, but you see his footprint and you panic that he's in there in your calves, but you don't have any evidence knowing that he's killing your cattle, you're probably better off to leave that tom there, because those lions are selective to what they like to eat. He may be hard after the whitetail and pigs, and as long as he's got those other food sources, he may never switch over to beef. And there's going to be ranchers that argue that they, every lion on planet Earth is after their cows, but that ain't the reality, and they know that for a fact. And it's the same with the sheep. I know you guys are sheep hunters, and I'm glad you guys are out there, but you guys are terrible about lions. You think, and I get it. I get it. There ain't no other.
Oh, I would agree. I'm one of those that like
Oh my
think that the
gosh.
lions are after my deer and my sheep, but
I
I
cringe
hear
when
what
I
you're
hear it,
saying.
but I get it. The Lions are. You guys see the direct effect of them, and they can absolutely hurt a deer or sheep population if the right ones and the right pressures happen. But there's a lion/sheep study down in the Kofas, Jay, and they've had a female lion collared down there for like 5 or 6 years, and she's been living like they got video of her laying watching sheep walk by her, and in 5 or 6 years she's never touched a lamb or a ewe or a ram. She's eaten rabbits and deer and coyotes and foxes. Like, that's documented.
Interesting. Well, let me ask you this then: the case in the Catalinas where they've just reintroduced the sheep, and obviously they had a cat or two. I'm not really up on the specifics, but definitely some lions or lion did some damage on those sheep that they originally transplanted.
Oh, you bet.
So are you saying that specifically if a lion really gets a taste for them, he can wipe, he or she can do pretty good wiping them out, but you're also saying that they could have a lion right in their same, drinking out of the same spring or same water hole and never even, they're killing javelina and jackrabbits and what have you, and never even touch them.
100%. That's been proven multiple times in multiple areas. We see it as lion hunters. You see it as a sheep hunter. You just turn your head the other way. I'm kidding, but no, those sheep they planted in the Catalinas. Yep, for the first 8-10 months, they pretty much just fed lions, but they had a pretty good lion hunter in there, and they went in there and really hammered on some of those lions, and for the most part, all those killings slowed down, and they know this because they had all the sheep collared and they were watching them, and they know when it's a kill and they move in on it. But Jay, I was in there 2 months ago and I saw a fair amount of lion sign, and I haven't been hearing hardly much of it. They might, be trying to keep it a little quieter now with all the beatings Game and Fish took trying to do that. But it's you can't win. I mean, you get praise. Yeah. The game departments get praise for putting all this time, effort, and money doing a reintroduction of a species, and then part of that species' success in that newer area is a little predator control. So they do predator control, and then they take a beating on the other side. It's rough. I don't envy those wildlife agencies at all. They got their hands full between trying to stay focused on the biology of it and then the social pressures that come from it. Eesh, it's a nasty place to be.
Okay, let me ask you this question. Could we kill all the lions in the state of Arizona? In other words, over time, with money and resources, is it even possible to kill all the lions in the state of Arizona? Or virtually, like you see on CNN News, like, oh, they're going to go extinct, like we're going to kill them all. If you had, $1,000 a lion or whatever it may be, could it happen?
No, because I'd be following you guys around, popping your tires and not.
Besides that, is it even possible?
It's not. It's not possible, and I know that because look what we tried to do to coyotes and trapping them and wolves, and for the most part they got them knocked down, but they didn't get rid of them all. Some of it came from protection from regulations and whatnot, but man, more days than not, when I'm hunting lions and finding where they really go, I'm definitely not man enough to follow them into some of that country, and they are incredibly resilient. And I am very thankful that God made them that way, because us humans just got a thorn in our side for lions. I don't get it. It goes back to, I think, a primal thing when we were living in caves and saber-toothed tigers were at us. I think I just think we tend to think that, but society anymore, we don't need to worry about them that much. So
so let me keep going down this bunny trail, and I'm not trying to pin you. I'm just having conversation. So the state of California bans lion hunting. I think maybe the state of Oregon, I'm not sure, but the state of California bans lion hunting. No, you can't kill lions.
Yep, and they snuck that one in too. That was. Go ahead.
Yeah, so now they're seeing more and more lion kills. Would
More and
you
more.
argue that the lion would you argue that the lion population hasn't even gone up, that it's the same? Or would you argue that there are more lions now
Oh,
in
I
California?
think it. I think there'd be more. It was. Yeah, it was. I believe it was 1990. I think it was Prop 117. It was called, and it was basically they snuck it in as an environmental, sustainability act, and they put the lions as a sensitive species. And for all the listeners, lions are. If you look at the spectrum of threatened, endangered, extinct, stable, species of less concern, lions are completely on the far side as far as they're not threatened. They're not even a species of concern. Like our American cougar population is very stable, and it's a testament to how amazing those animals are, because hunters absolutely pound on them, and it's it like I said, it blows me away every year when we hunt them and we hear about all these people getting them and killing them, and legally, big game hunters, and thinking, oh man, they're going to be mucked out of this area for years, and sometimes they are, but the majority of the times they're not. They're pretty resilient. But yeah, so 1990, and it's been 27 years of no sport hunting of lions. Well, there's still plenty of blacktails and mule deer in California, so the lions haven't.
Do you know that you can't even go legally shoot? And I think the director of the California Game and Fish actually got fired over this. He went to a state, I believe Wyoming or Montana.
Yep, I heard
I could
about
be
it.
wrong on the state. He harvested a lion legally, the whole thing, and I don't know what happened, but it was a big public outcry and what have you. But I mean, like, you can't even go kill a lion legally in another state, have the taxidermy work done, and have the lion brought into California.
Nope,
That
nope. It's an import.
that
It's an
is
import export. And it's a federal. It's a federal law, because you're going across state lines. We get clients every year from California, and they're always in a pickle if they get one where they're gonna. Luckily, some of them either have family somewhere else that they end up getting the hide or the mount sent to. I know it's absolute madness. So the backfire, in my opinion, that's happened in California is, so pre 1990, you had sport hunters like us, trophy hunters, the evil white man killing all the wildlife. Well, we're spending a lot of money to do that. A lot of money. You do, I do, the average hunter does. That's going directly back into wildlife and wildlife management. On top of that, we're harvesting these animals that, basically, the way hunting is set up, Jay, as you know, and I'm just kind of preaching here to those that know, but to those that don't, hunting is set up to harvest, no matter what species, to harvest basically the excess of the individual population. So all species are always trying to, unless there's some external circumstance like drought or poaching or whatnot, the species are always in surplus of what the carrying capacity is for that given area. And it's just designed that way, Jay. Designed not by us. It's just these millions of years of design. Basically, so that way, if the predator numbers happen to swing that year and that species takes a hard hit, they got enough to rebound. If disease comes in, drought, they got enough to rebound. And we see it in all the way down to the classic snowshoe and the lynx, study, where it's people used to think, oh, it's the predators keep the prey down. Well, actually, it's the prey species and how good they're doing correlate to how good the predators reproduce and where their numbers go. So in California before, we were hunting, so to speak, the excess lions. That's what we hunt. We hunt that these populations are able to sustain every year. And that's where our game agencies come in. They're supposed to be keeping track of these numbers, and with hunter surveys and everything to keep tabs on how healthy these populations are. Well, you go and outlaw the sport hunting, and now those lions are still going to be doing what they've been doing for 11 million years, trying to survive and pass on their genes, and the same as all biological creatures on the planet, and they are incredibly resilient at it. Well, there's still neighborhoods in California. There's still cattle ranchers. There's still areas of urban interface that these lions are now causing issues. So it's a behind-the-scenes government hunter going in there either with hounds or snares, and they're just killing these lions. And as terrible as it sounds, they're absolutely wasted, Jay. So as before, you had sport hunters paying for it, creating revenue and income for the state, the area, the local communities. Now they're taken out of the equation. The lions are still getting killed, the problem lions. Sure, not to the numbers they would have before if they were sport hunted, but now the hides are getting wasted, the meat's getting wasted. There's really no biological, it was a social issue. It wasn't our lions are in danger, we need to step in as wildlife managers and help them. It was a complete, emotional, irrational social issue what got them banned. So from some of the stuff I've read, Jay, they've killed just as many, if not more, mountain lions in the last 27 years since the ban of sport hunting that they did before. So to me, it was a total backfire. Now the animals, they're still dying. They're still, being selected, so to say, by humans. But now they're just, I just hate seeing them go to waste. So did they overrun? And it's also the other side of the coin. Did they overrun and eat all of California's sheep and deer and small game? Nope. So that's another testament that they're not the boogeyman that people like to think of them as.
Okay, let me ask you a little bit of a related question, but not quite as related. They're talking about reintroducing the Mexican gray wolf.
You bet.
Do you feel the same about the Mexican gray wolf as far as they will, even if they introduce them, they will never be a problem? Or do you feel like they have different feeding habits than mountain lions? What would be your thought on the reintroduction of the Mexican gray wolf?
Well, now you got me cornered. You were just waiting to call me a hypocrite on this one, so I saw you coming a mile away, Jay. I don't.
No, I'm honestly, I'm truly, I want to know what your thoughts are on it.
Sure. I think we would have done to the lions what we did to the gray wolves if physically it was possible. I think those wolves were a little easier to target when we ran them down and ran them out of here, just like when we almost wiped out the buffalo and the passenger pigeon and every other wildlife species that we freaking drove to extinction or near extinction. I just think the lions were just their habits kept them safe and alive. So we did the same thing with the grizzly bears in the lower 48, Jay, and as far as the Southwest. Does that mean we should reintroduce grizzly bears? Well, I think times have changed a little bit, and there are those social limitations that unfortunately have heavy weight, and sometimes for the good and sometimes for the bad. So, in my opinion, they have a few reintroduction programs with those wolves. I had that elk tag last year up in Unit 1, which I didn't tell you I have it again, Jay.
You do?
Yeah, how'd that feel?
You turkey? That's 2 years in a row?
No, I don't know who I'm, and it's just a waste of my time.
Oh my goodness. So did you put $100 in your application, or a cash $100 bill, or what?
It was just a voucher for a free.
You wish it was that easy, don't you?
Yeah, it was just a voucher for a free lion hunt, and those Game and Fish guys bit.
Jumped on it?
No.
You got Unit 1 again?
Unit 1 again. I don't. Yep.
You turkey.
I know.
You shot a great bull last year.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was a fun hunt, and I don't know how it happened. It took me 13 years.
So did you run into the wolves up there?
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at. And we saw a few and saw sign of them, and of course, it's both sides of the story up there. We talked to the locals, and they for the most part weren't too happy they're back, and then some people we talked to were okay with it. Of course, the ranching community, I get where they're coming from. They're after their livelihood, so that's a whole can of worms. And I don't think anyone, Jay, can say that was a good move or that was a bad move, because would we? Does that mean if the wolves are successful, the grizzly bears are next? We start moving them in. I don't think we're at a point where those are going to work out for the better for the animals or for the people. So I have a hard time saying it was a good move. I get it. If it's a prey species, it seems like it's always a good move, moving sheep around, moving antelope to areas to try to repopulate. But all of a sudden, when it comes a predator and there's going to be pressure with the local humans, it's you opened a whole different paradox there. And so Jay, I don't have an opinion one way or the other. I'm just kind of sitting back, hoping for the wolves they do okay, but hoping they don't.
Well, in theory, couldn't the wolves eat your deer and elk and things that your lions eat? And in essence, is it possible that the wolves could do enough damage that maybe it would kind of push the lions out, or no?
I don't think they would get to. I mean, absolutely they could if we stood back and did nothing. But that's part of the wildlife management there. As far as people,
you're saying it's not your baby, and it's not your baby, so you're staying out of it.
What they say, not my pig, not my farm.
Yeah.
I think for the wolves to get to that point, Jay, they would be at that point a huntable population, and I think them fox pros are hell on predators, so I think they do all right.
Yeah. How many wolves do you think? Well, do you think a pack of wolves could kill a lion, or do you think the friggin' lion would probably have its way with a pack of wolves?
Well, I'm willing to bet that lion would go up a tree before he's way too intelligent to take on that fight. No, I don't.
Okay, so he or she wouldn't stand and fight. They would probably tree up and wait till the wolves lose interest.
They'd tree up and run, and I mean, if a pack of wolves got one in an area where it didn't have a escape route, I think the wolves, they could take the lion, but.
Interesting. Okay, I want to ask you some questions about when you're riding around trailing lions and just, doing your thing. For, the draw just came out for deer hunters and mule deer and coos deer and all over the state. But in general, where are you seeing the densest track of whitetail, and where are you seeing the most deer in general? I'm not talking like what unit, what area, specific canyon, but like
Sure.
Topography and vegetation. Where do you see the most deer?
Man, I think it's unit specific, Jay. I think the deer tend to move. Some canyons hold them a little better, and I think that's all relative to what these wildlife populations need. They, food, water, shelter, escape routes, however you want to explain it. Those, all of them, predators and prey, I don't want to say wander around because they're not wandering. I think it's just instinctively in them to basically bounce around till they find these areas that have all those environmental cues that, trigger in their brain, this is a successful place to live and reproduce, and it's got to have all those. So I wish I could say, it's all the north facing slopes with oaks and manzanita brush that the big bucks live in, and because we find them high to low, dense to open. I mean, I think those big bucks tend to find a little niche that, and I know you're going to go there, so we might as well just go there. They tend to find a niche where they can survive, and it's not just whitetail hunters. They're surviving lions, and they're surviving the packs of coyotes and anything else that would be after them. So I just look at where the good whitetail hunters I know personally, and I know are straight up and honest about what they're seeing out there, where they're finding these big trophy coos deer, and Jay, they're just finding them where those suckers can live, and I know that's pretty vague, but like they could be in a very populated area, popular to hunters, popular to recreators, and they could be in super remote areas, and I don't think that's what I don't think the deer are specifically looking for that. I think they kind of get pinballed around as young bucks. And this is, like I said, my opinion and kind of my observations. They get pinballed around from pressures, hunting pressures from both natural predators and human predators until they kind of find a spot that they can live. And I think that's why these Coues deer have such tight, these big bucks have such tight home ranges. Because the more they expand, the more they're exposed. Granted, that time of the year when they're rutting, they make some bad decisions.
We all do when we're rutting.
You know that for sure, man. Anyway,
but you're talking about big bucks. I'm trying to just say for the beginner Coues deer hunter out there, and maybe not even from your lion experience, in general, unit to unit, is there any specific, yellow grass or oaks or mesquite or ocotillo or look for this and you're going to find deer? And I'm not even talking about bucks. Where do you think the highest density of Coues deer is in your Sky Island mountain chains in the units across southern Arizona? Like, where do you see the most deer? Not big bucks, not just deer.
Yeah, and I'd have to say that's directly correlated to what feed they're on that time of year. And they're feeding on different plants in the summers than they are midwinter and than they are in the springtime. And not to say that one deer couldn't live a whole year in, a couple little canyons, just make and do. But I tend to like to look where, they can get to cover real quick. Not saying that they have to be in the thickest north slopes of, the deepest, darkest canyons, but I tend to see them where they can get in the winter. They can get up on sunny ridges, when it's cold, but they aren't very far from cover at all, But Jay, you and I both know examples of giant bucks living out in flats with one little mesquite cut. They just happen to find safety in, and they might stay there months, years. There's just so much pressure out there these days, Jay, and I'm not talking just hunting pressure, hikers and recreators and all these things that push these deer around and scramble them. Unless you're hunting, I think you'd be a better knowledge base of that, because from the ranches in Mexico where you guys are seeing them, because I don't think they get the pressures that kick them around as much as we do here in public land. So I wish I could get
that's
you
for
and
sure. And that's one of the reasons why I like going to Mexico so much, is because you can go to those pretty yellow grass slopes, you can go to those, mesquite, and then roll up into the oaks, and you can see a ton of deer, and it's beautiful country. Whereas I feel like some of southern Arizona, with the pressures of hunters that we've, lots of hunting pressure, that people, they go to the yellow grass, they go to the little bit lower in the mesquites, then roll up into those oaks, and it's gotten where they've pushed some of the bucks high or low. I did a podcast with Dwayne Adams, and he was saying the middle of the mountain is, he tends to find bigger bucks high or bigger bucks low, and I think that's the human eye is drawn to just that pretty beautiful country that we have in southern Arizona. And one of the things I enjoy about Mexico is you get to hunt those deer and get to hunt some big bucks right in some of that real pretty country, where I feel like if you're a deer hunter, a Coues deer hunter in southern Arizona, you probably need to go low, or you need to go high, or you need to go where nobody else is going, where it's very hard to get to find big bucks,
Sure.
because it's real easy for to go to where your grandpa hunted, where your dad hunted, and where your uncles hunted, and it's in the prettiest canyons of the unit, and that's just a perception of mine. I don't know that I really even have much evidence to back that up, other than seems like some of the biggest bucks are found in the high super thick stuff, or out in the low flats where they're almost virtually impossible to kill.
You're right, and my advice to the would-be deer chasers is you just pick a theory, test it out, go out there and put your boots on the ground and start reading sign, and any of these wildlife species aren't hard to figure. You just got to go. They all leave sign. They all got to eat, sleep, and go to the bathroom, and there's evidence of all of them: lions, bears, predator, prey. And to me, that's the fun of hunting is figuring it out and testing your theories and having some success and some failures and learning new units, and it's all part of the experience.
For sure. Speaking of part of the experience, I know I follow you on Instagram, and one of the things I really enjoy on your Instagram page is you've got some really good videos of lions making scrapes, and I know in the last two episodes that we talked about, how those lions make their scrapes and what have you, and there was in the spring there was some talk about them, wanting to ban trail cameras, and you posted it on your Instagram. I posted it on my Instagram. Mainly from my perspective, I was wanting to kind of see what the general, guy out there was thinking about that. And, I ended up just deleting it off of. I was a little bit of a chicken. Deleted it off my Instagram post after about 2 days because I thought that this isn't really going anywhere.
Yeah. You're smarter than me.
And you left it up there, and man, you caught a little bit of heat. I'm just curious your thoughts on all of that.
Oh yeah, I think I got hashtag block party more than anyone, and I don't mind a healthy discussion, but if guys are gonna just be jerks about it, it's not constructive in anything. And and you bet I had messages coming out my ears from guys I know that I never knew their stance on it, that kind of surprised me, to complete strangers. I had support, I had opposition, and it's a super sensitive subject and I just laugh because it's something, when it's that sensitive, it needs to be talked about, because the only reason it's reached that point is because, excuse my French, guys are starting to call bullshit on it. The hunters that have been at this a long time and that are just dyed-in-the-wool average Joe hunters are starting to see that those trail cameras have changed the face of hunting. I don't even know if we'll ever recover from it. You got to pick a side to stand on, in my opinion. And I'm not saying ban them all. I'm not saying we don't use them as heavily as anyone. There's certain types of cameras that I think should be outlawed. The ones that are giving a hunter that's not in the field live information, the cell phone cameras, that's a whole different thing. I've used them. I know how lethal they are. They're especially to the lions. And this winter, Jay, I heard a couple stories, the first times I've heard of guys killing really good bucks with those cell phone cameras. So for the deer hunters out there that thought they were the best thing in the world, well, all of a sudden when those guys got a little competition from them, I think they're going to start singing a different tune. Before it was mostly us lion hunters saying, all right, that kind of takes the whole hunt out of it. You don't even have to hunt for a trailable track for your dogs to catch. You just sit at home and wait for the camera to send your picture. Most rational guys say, oh yeah, that's not fair chase at all. That shouldn't even be an option. When some guy, well, it's not really applicable to deer or elk. Well, I heard a couple stories from the horse's mouth this winter that they absolutely can work on deer or elk and big deer. So it's coming. We just got to gather our thoughts as sportsmen and kind of take a stand for where we want hunting to go, where we want this public perception, because as terrible as it sounds, ultimately that's what's going to ruin it, is us looking so terrible that the media gets a hold of it, and then it gets the public's attention in a negative light. Then it all is lost. We've seen it time and time again, and going down that rabbit hole.
Just like the lion hunting getting banned, or just like trapping, the media runs with a bobcat in a trap and shows a cute little bobcat kitten and what have you, sure. And they use it against us, and you're saying that you're fearful that the same thing will happen with the trail cameras.
You bet. It's becoming so. I mean, if you talk to any game wardens, those things are an absolute headache for them, between guys stealing them and guys vandalizing them and guys moving in on other guys' spots. And it's just a headache for them. It's a headache. It's To me, it was never an issue. If I went to a water hole and there was a camera hanging there, why would I hang my camera there? There's someone already ahead of me. Why would I want? I'm gonna go find my own spot. I kind of thought that was the point of hunting, was to get out there away from people. But the world is getting smaller, Jay, and it's unfortunately taken a turn, in my opinion, for the worse. And I don't want to be negative Nancy here, but it's got a ton of attention, and we better get ahead of it. That's all I'm saying. And I've made an effort to try to talk and approach the right people about it, and it's definitely on the table. Within a year, we're going to have a ruling on the cameras, cell phone and regular. It's just, there are so many different angles and so many good points on both sides of the coin, and I fear it's probably going to end in a way the majority of us don't want. And that was the majority of the beating I took. All the hypocrite comments I got. It's like, I never said we don't use cameras. I never said they're not a valuable tool. All I said is we need to rein it in a little bit, fellas. It's getting pretty ugly, and it's getting pretty floppy.
Well, shouldn't we as sportsmen, kind of police ourselves? And is that not part of what our duty is okay, and I think that's what you were trying to point out originally, was like, okay, we might have overcooked this a little bit. Let's get some sportsmen's group together and let's work this out. Let's work it out, not have legislation work it out for us. That's kind of what you were saying, right?
That's the point I was trying to make. But instantly, Jay, the guy's knee-jerk reaction is, oh, it's just an outfitter being jealous of another outfitter. Well, I don't make my living as an outfitter. I don't need this. I do it to help supplement the cost of all the dogs and livestock to be a lion hunter. But if I didn't, I'd still be lion hunting. So to me, I don't have anything to gain by it, by outlawing them or pushing for them. I can only look at it, Jay, from a sportsman's standpoint, a standpoint of what are we accomplishing in here, and when is enough? And as cliche as it sounds, I think we're there. I think we found it, and the only way it's going to happen is through legislation. And as stupid as that, everyone, and I don't want the government in my life any more than the next guy. But the trouble comes with these new technologies. They're going to keep coming, and that's what, in my opinion, the wildlife regulations and the fair chase and the legal methods that take, they all need attention. And guys that cry wolf on that, or not cry wolf, but guys that cry out when you mention that, oh, just what we need, more game laws. And well, as long as hunters keep doing stupid things and trying to cut corners, yeah, we're going to get more game laws. And I'd like to think it was that simple, Jay, that policing your own. I say to heck yeah, man. I think one of the best tools we got is humility. And if guys are willing to kind of call guys out on their behaviors and their actions and not take it the wrong way, I think we could kind of start forming what's acceptable and not. But
isn't the main problem some of the areas like the Strip, some of the areas like some of the popular elk units like Unit 9, it's not a problem of a Coues deer hunter that's hiked in 3 miles to some, spring in Unit 32 where there's nobody else around and he's getting photos and he's not bothering anyone. From my perspective, I see where the problem exists is where you've got, like that picture you had on your Instagram, which, by the way, the listeners, it's Rimrock Outfitters on Instagram. And there's, 12, 15 cameras. I have been to the Strip and seen 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 cameras on, one place. I've been in Unit 9 and seen the same thing. And that's where I think the problem is, because what happens is the people during the hunt are constantly going to that water to check it. Well, if somebody's sitting there and someone drives up or someone walks up and they go, oh, I'm just checking my camera. Well, that guy has built a blind, and then you have, the whole other issue of, oh, there's 3 good bucks coming in here, so there's 6 blinds on the water hole, and then they fight over it.
Oh my gosh,
And
it's a train wreck.
it's a train wreck.
You bet. So what is that?
I think
when you say that and you're explaining that to a logical sportsman, all of our first instinct should be, it's public land, guys. It's first come, first serve. We should, we all took hunter safety. I'd like to think we're raised out there to do the right thing and to yield to our fellow sportsman if he's ahead of us. But holy cow, have we gone the opposite way from that? Holy cow, has it become a competition and we're going to kill it before them? And it's been, and here's another beating I'm going to take, and I'm ready for it because the more, like I said, the more guys I talk to that are making their living in the woods and doing it, they're tired of it, whether or not they all want to speak up or not. But the social media, Jay, in the hunting community is a freaking runaway train. And anyone that can't see that needs to pull their head out. You remember in the late 90s when Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa were, trading off home runs, chasing 70 or whatever, and these guys were coming to the plate looking like the Incredible Hulk, just hitting these gargantuous home runs, and everyone was so caught up in the race and so caught up in the competition, no one thought, man, those guys don't look like normal baseball players. Like, no, it took a few years for us to catch on to that. Jay, that's exactly what's going on with social media and hunting. Everyone is so caught up in their own brand and their own image and sponsors, and how many freaking watermarks can we put on a picture with outfitters' names? And you and I are both outfitters. That's the other thing. I hate when that gets thrown back in our face. Like, well, that's no different than you guys. Well, yeah, there's a difference. There is the way you operate and the way you go about things. And I will take that to the end, that there is a right and a wrong. And social media, I think, is fueling the fire of more negative than it is positive. Sure, it helps guys connect, and it does there's plenty of examples of it doing good, organizing, trash cleanups along the border, organizing plenty of wildlife projects. I'm not saying get off it or outlaw it, or of course not. I'm just saying we need to be careful with letting the social media get so far the priority that we're just exploiting the wildlife and we're exploiting hunting, at our self-interest and our self-promotion motivations.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Is your main problem with social media, are you saying that let me think about this. Are you saying that you feel like there's a ton of people out there that are portraying something that they're actually not, meaning that they are trying to be the man, but they're not actually the man, but it's a smokescreen?
Oh my gosh, that's like the definition of social media. I think if you look it up, it's an alternate reality, and it's an alternate reality, and
So it's the dating online deal where you're looking at a picture of this hot chick, and then all of a sudden you meet her and realize
catfish.
She's not what she looks like in the picture. Is that what's bothering you?
I think that's what's bothering me, Jay. I think that's it. I think that's what's bothering a lot of us. I'm not saying there aren't guys getting it done and posting on social media. I don't want to say names because that's pointless. There's plenty of examples on both sides of the coin. There's good outfitters.
Are you saying that it's become distasteful? Are you saying from your perspective that you're witnessing people on social media that are doing things professionally and for the betterment of hunting, and then you would say that there's a whole nother group out there that is doing stuff that doesn't have taste? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, and I'm not. I got to be careful with this one, but I'm just, like I said, it's my opinion. It's what I've observed. It's what plenty of other good, respectable hunters I know on all species are seeing, and it's the motivation to get the likes and the followers and the just the superficial, gratification. I think it's starting to change how we operate, Jay. I think I can be anyone I want. This is who I am on social media, and then they go out in the woods and they don't, portray the same thing. There was and we got to be careful, because kids nowadays, Jay, who are getting raised in this hunting world, that's none of us grew up with this instant access to information on unlimited subjects. So kids growing up hunting, I pray that their parents are giving them enough direction. But if they don't get it from there, they're gonna go straight to social media. That's how they're being raised. There's study after study being done how it's kind of molding generations. And if we don't,
you talk about like a false reality, like that they think that that's real, but then they get let down themselves because they realize it's not real.
Yeah, and so then they go out there thinking, oh man, that guy's just like me, and he posts that he sees, 310-inch bucks every time he goes out. I'm only seeing 70 and 80-inch bucks. I'm gonna go back to video games. And I'm not trying to push it on one area or the other. I'm just saying it's a slippery slope, and we got to watch our motivations on why we're doing what. And I'm obviously don't have it figured out. Obviously don't know the best way to operate. I just am going off of the feel I'm getting and the general impulse coming from hunters that I run into and hunters I respect that have been at this a long time, and where we're going with it. There's like I said, and there's always two sides to it. There's good and bad, but I'm afraid with the hunting, we're kind of leaning toward the bad, and we need to watch who and what we're influencing.
Well, I don't think you could have said it any better. I mean, I think we as sportsmen, we need to watch what we're portraying to the rest of the world, and we need to, make sure that we are not overcooking some of this stuff, and we need to make sure that we're not. And I'm speaking for myself too. Like, I need to make sure that, am I Barry Bonds or am I Sammy Sosa? Because if I am, and you call me out on that, and you may be dead right, but I may lash out at you because the truth hurts.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's one of those things that, it stings, and, but I think that's a very interesting perception. I would argue that there's probably a lot of people that have your same opinion, but they're basically afraid to maybe state their opinion in fear that, they're going to get tromped on.
Well, and like I said, I'm all right with the constructive criticism, and let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. But they say it's hard to win an argument with a smart person, but it's even harder to win one with a dumb person. So we shouldn't turn it into hunters against hunters. That's the old, we need to stick together thing. But we need to all be very, very conscious of where this can go, and in my opinion, where it already has begun to snowball. And like I said, it's just feel from you see it, Jay. I see it. I think most average guys see it. I know a lot of young new hunters. I know a lot of old new hunters that, what do? You get interested in something, you pick up your phone and you go to Google, or you get on talk forums and you get on Instagram and Facebook and you start typing in hashtags of what interests you. Well, that, just because you're seeing it there doesn't mean that's what's happening. There's a whole hidden world out there, I think, behind what people are trying to portray on social media as far as hunting. I'm not going to touch the rest of it as far as what society's dealing with now, but I just think it's a slippery slope, and if we don't kind of take a stand and kind of start calling each other out, I'm not saying get on everyone's page and tell them they're a liar.
Yeah, be destructive.
Yeah,
sure.
Like, come on, we can be adults about it.
Send a direct message. Send it personally. Talk to someone in person. Pick up the phone and call them, or send them a. Don't rip someone publicly. Send a direct message and have a conversation. And you
might get an education too. I've had my mind made up on guys before, and actually meet them or talk to them, and it totally changed my mind. And I've had it made up before, and get to know them, and I was right on. So I'm as guilty of it as anyone. I try to give everyone their chance. But there was a post, Jay, you might have saw it a couple days ago. I don't remember who it was. They just were tagging it long range shooting, and it was my buddy. I got into big game hunting, drew his first December tag this year, first time rifle hunting. Here's his group, and he's shooting an 8-inch group at 1,500 yards. Never shot a rifle before. Like, is that okay? Like, I guess you talk to the rifle guys, that's way okay. He's putting his time in. He's doing this. You talk to me, who used to run around with a longbow, and that's weak. That's weak. That guy, in his mind, he's just got to get to 1,000 yards, and he's going to fill his tag. But that's my opinion. There's the whole thing. That's, how many trail cameras is too many? Guys throw it back in my face. Well, you're out there using dogs. How many hounds does it take?
Yeah, they're going to outlaw dogs. That's what it's an instant knee-jerk reaction to, oh, he's a houndsman. Let's attack him or his way of life or his dogs. And I don't think your intention was attack. I think you were trying to bring to light, and you were the only one out there that I've seen that kind of had the guts to just kind of state a little bit differing opinion and say, guys, haven't we overcooked this a little bit? Like, let's rein this in just a little bit and kind of police ourselves. And
you bet
there's dang sure people out there that need that have priorities probably mixed up, and I think we all need to be self-aware and look at what we're doing and how we're portraying what we're doing. And I think all of us on one way or another could be more professional, could be more of a sportsman, and could do things differently. So I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm glad we talked about it here. And I would bet that there's way more, there's a silent majority out there, and I'm sure you got a lot of support. You got bagged on a little bit, but you probably also got probably more support behind the scenes than people not wanting to be public about it, but probably sent you messages saying, "Hey, I agree with you 100%."
Yeah, and I honestly, I didn't know what to expect. I was just it's our Instagram page. I'm gonna say what our opinion is, and I got no issues with someone disagreeing with me. That's what there's always more than one way to operate. But some of the support I got from some pretty big name outfitters across the Southwest kind of blew me away, and enough to where I'm like, all right, this needs to be talked about. This isn't just a post of just trying to get a rise out of some individual enemy. This is an issue that is very, very prevalent and
widespread. Yeah,
and the trail cameras is on the table right now, but it's gonna be long range rifles soon, and smart rifles. It's drones. It's just an onslaught year after year, and we just got to deal with it, and we got to take them as they come and make the best decisions we can, or we are gonna all suffer, because it's gonna turn into such a circus out there that it's gonna get attention from the public, who is
we don't want.
Most part an uneducated public of what hunters are about, and as soon as it's there, it's too late. So I'm very thankful to live in Arizona, where our Game and Fish does take public comment on all these issues, from our hunt regulations to our hunt recommendations to these very issues. And guys, if you have an opinion strongly one way or the other, gather your thoughts and go and show up at these things, and come there to be constructive, and come there with an open mind that maybe we all need to give a little. I'm with you, Jay. You and Dar hiking 10 miles into rough desert country and hanging a trail camera. That is not the same as 9 cameras on T-posts at the only drinker for 15 miles on the strip. It's not the same game. They're both involved trail cameras. It's not the same game. I don't see how guys make that correlation of, well, you use them too. Well, you know what? I use a gun too, but I don't use it to shoot people. It's like we all make decisions on how we handle ourselves and behave.
Yeah.
There's a group of whitetail hunters down here south of me. And I mean, I'll say their names because they need it. There's a guy named Mike Short. There's a guy named Shane Hall. I don't. They're not even on social media. Lee Commandoran just killed a giant deer last year. You want to talk to a whitetail hunter, you have to talk to that guy, and he does it hard and he does it old school. And I'm not saying he doesn't use cameras, but I'm saying he's hunting because he enjoys the chase and enjoys the hunt and figuring those big deer out. And I'm not saying those guys should suffer for the guys running 150 cameras on every water hole in the unit. Like, come on, we gotta use our heads here and draw a line of what's allowed and what's not. I mean, those guys, Jay, would blow your minds, the deer they've killed and the deer they locate every year and how hard they hunt. And I know them personally. I'm not just saying it through hearsay. And there's a whole, and those are just guys I know. I'm sure there's a whole group of guys you know like that are hunters, and they're watching all this from the grandstands. And I don't want to see those guys suffer just because some, kind of loudmouth social media, look at me, is gaining the attention for the same sport these guys love. That's not right either.
Yeah, I hear you 100%. Loud and clear. I think you've made some great points, and I think it's something we need to figure out within our group before it gets outside of our group, and then we don't have any. It's a runaway train then, for sure. Uh, well, buddy, it's been awesome having you on. You are a dirty dog though for getting a Unit One
Oh my
tag.
gosh.
Have they been getting quite a bit of rain? I haven't heard many reports from one, but I would assume it's probably looking pretty good up there.
Yeah, I've had a few buddies up there just for different summer vacations. They say it's looking pretty good, but I know I'm still shaking my head how that happened. I still get on my Game and Fish portal once a week and make sure I'm reading it right because I don't. But
So with the number of tags, I believe they had 300 permits, maybe 350. I think they reined it back just a little bit. Did you have quite a bit of people problems up there in Unit One, or were you able to,
no.
get away from some people?
Yeah, it was a very, very pleasant experience all the way around. I grew up hunting those western units that you guys like to pound, and those are dirty, tough elk hunts. They're hot and dry, and you got to find the elk. Unit One is it'll ruin you. Well, I'm not ever putting in for another unit. It was
Well,
awesome. Plenty of elk. Yeah, you see hunters, but everyone I ran into was awesome and happy to be there. And toward the middle of the hunt, it quieted down, and that's what I feel like went on a negative rant this whole time. But Jay, there's a lot of good hunters out there still, and good, honest people. And Jake Lindsay and I were sitting on the edge of a meadow one evening, set up in the open, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, way early, and an hour before dark. Here, two guys come and set up their cow decoy out in the middle and start calling. And we just walked over to them and discussed it with them, and they nodded and picked their heads up and moved on. It was kind of how I thought it should work. And there's still a lot of good out there, and I have faith that we can keep this train on the tracks. And like I said, I gotta keep that in perspective that we all deserve it, and we all have the right to the woods and public land, and we need to appreciate each other's rights for that.
yeah, well said. Well said. Well, buddy, it's been awesome having you on, picking your brain, and look forward to having you on again. And I'll be anxious to see another dark antlered bull. The thing I remember about the bull you shot last year, I don't really remember his configuration as far as what he was, but I just remember him being real dark antlered. Seemed like he had white tips, and seemed like he kind of belled in. He kind of went out, and just those typical dark antlered, Unit One bulls. And that's one thing that I really like about that part of the state. It seems like those antlers are dark antlered bulls, and so hopefully you get another one of those, and hopefully you don't run across a lion or something that's going to occupy, and you'll switch from an elk hunt to a lion hunt real fast. I'm I know how you guys are. You've got a one-track mind.
Oh, I could think of nothing better than finding a fresh kill up there on that elk hunt.
Wasting a good elk day chasing a lion. I
Oh,
love
that'd
it.
be
That's
that'd be
great.
great. I appreciate it, Jay. You
That's
take it easy on those trout up there.
okay, buddy. Sounds good. And I want to encourage the listeners, check out Rimrock Outfitters. If they are looking for a great lion hunt, Andy and his partner, they do phenomenal. Randy Epperson, they do phenomenal job with lions, and they're great guys. And just appreciate your time, appreciate your insight. Okay, buddy.
You bet. Have a good one.
All right, buddy. Take care.